Hi everybody, I seem to say this a lot, it's been a while since I had the chance to get a video up. I'm really sorry. I've had a few comments recently. I got more earlier when I posted the last of the gourd videos and everything. People have just been so incredibly supportive and sweet about things. It's been really kind of hectic both around here and at work. COVID variant is flaring up. I'm not going to get all political on it. I'm just going to say that, here in Michigan, we're seeing a lot of cases again. I think they are around the country. And so I ended up getting my booster shot just about 3 weeks ago. And 2 days later, I was in the hospital. And the local hospital, which I won't name by name, for the sake that I don't feel like getting sued for anything. Boy, they didn't do the best of jobs. I thought they did, but it turns out there were some tests that they didn't run on me. The main one being a COVID test right from the get-go. They think I ended up having a follow-up with my doctor the next week, and based on the charts and their lack of a COVID test, and the way I reacted, he thinks I may have actually been asymptomatic. He said all signs sort of pointed that way. But we'll never know, because the emergency room did not follow its own protocol, which is a scary thing to think that, you could have it. And, the worst I had was a little bit of a stuffy nose, but, there's all sorts of mold in the air and leaves falling as a couple of weeks ago. And, it's Michigan. I get a stuffy nose every spring and every fall anyway. So it was scary. I thought I was having a heart attack. I had all the symptoms of it. I had chest pains, couldn't breathe, pain radiating out here, shakes. I had the shakes so bad I couldn't button up a shirt. My fingers were turning blue. It was the scariest thing I've been through. So a little bit of a health scare. I'm getting back to normal. I'm close. But it really took the wind out of my sails, and I had, for at least a week and a half afterwards, I had no desire to do much of anything. But I've put a lot of thought into these videos. And by the way, I'm drinking a tea bag cup. I'm drinking World Market Sumatra Blend from their K-Cup series, which is really neat because it doesn't have the plastic shell on the bottom, just the filter, so you get the coffee taste that it deserves, and it's delicious. So, now that I've prattled on about coffee and my health scare, this show, I was going to do two separate ones, but in one category I only have 3 albums. I'm not quite ready to do my albums of the year yet, even though it's looking at this point like I'm not going to buy any more albums released this year. So I'm probably ready, but I'm kind of saving it to a little bit later in December. So this year, there have been a number of notable archival releases and reissues. And I'm differentiating the two because the archival releases, as you probably know, are releases by bands from earlier in their career, previously unreleased. That's the big thing. And the not reissues, but a re-release in the sense, the other category is the re-release in the sense that they re-release the album with extras. There's something there. I'm not just talking about albums that were remixed or remastered and just thrown out with no bonus material, no extra stuff. There were a couple of those this year that sounded excellent. Bob Seger's Live Bullet got its 45th Anniversary Remaster, and the sound on it is pristine, man. It's great. On the other hand, and I hate to say this because I love him so much, Guy Clark's Some Days the Songs Write You from 10 years ago, one of the worst vinyl pressings I've ever heard. The folks at Dual Tone I don't know if it was their mastering for vinyl or whatever factory they used. It's crap. Stick with the CD. The music is phenomenal, but the surface noise right on the vinyl itself was atrocious. So those are just two examples of opposing ends of things. But for the expanded re-releases, I have 3 here, and it's kind of hard to pick. It's sort of, they're very diverse. So I'm going to do these 3 first, and then I've got 5 archival releases, never before released. Some are predictable probably for me, and some aren't. So we'll get to those in just a couple of minutes. I'm going to start, really 3 and 2 could be interchangeable. 40th anniversary re-release of the second Ronnie James Dio album by Black Sabbath from 1981, The Mob Rules. I think I spoke about this when I talked about my Ronnie James Dio Sabbath album ranking, as well as the Black Sabbath album ranking overall for my top 10 for them. This has actually grown into my second favorite Ronnie James Dio record behind Dehumanizer. So, got a massive gatefold reissue. Great liner notes in here. You have all the information about when it was originally recorded, plus all the mastering, and what's, some cool stuff on the back. Could have there been more and different bonus tracks? Certainly, I think so. But you have the original 1981 album for the 40th anniversary remaster, plus the bonus tracks. Some of these previously released, some not. So you have the Mob Rules from the heavy metal soundtrack, the live B-side of the Mob Rules, Die Young, which was originally on Heaven and Hell, new 2021 mix of the Mob Rules, which is really killer. Sign of the Southern Cross and Heaven and Hell from the bootleg that got released in its entirety with the CD version of this from Portland, Oregon in 1982. And then side 4 is from Live at Hammersmith Odeon, which I have the CD of, have had for years. But Country Girl, Slipping Away, Mob Rules, and Voodoo. Really, really cool. This had Geezer Butler on bass, Ronnie James Dio on vocals, Vinny Appice on drums, and of course Tony Iommi on guitar, and Jeff Nichols played keyboards. The great Martin Birch, who just passed away within the last year, produced and engineered it. So again, this is if you're into the classic heavy metal, classic hard rock, and you're a fan of Dio, Sabbath, and both, definitely worth picking up. It's really hard to pick between these two. So, at the opposite end of the musical spectrum, Handsome Johnny, John Prine. I love the fact that Fair and Square from 2005 finally got a vinyl release. It's the first vinyl release of it. Has the original track listings on side A, B, and part of C. Some Humans Ain't Human, She Is My Everything, which he wrote dedicated to Fiona, Glory of True Love, Crazy as a Loon, Long Monday. Some really great songs on here. 2 bonus tracks were released on the CD originally. The second CD version of it, Other Side of Town and Safety Joe. And then there were digital-only songs, which I had never heard, because I just don't download. I wasn't going to, get on there and Bandcamp or whatever. Bandcamp is great, but I wasn't going to just buy the 4 digital songs. I thought, I'll wait and see if they ever come out. And sure enough, Carousel of Love, That's All Right by Me, That's However Empire Falls, and Dual Custody came out to bookend this album on side D. Again, we've got, this was taken in John and Fiona's home over in Ireland, in their town. This was put out in 2005. He did not put another one out until his very last studio record, Tree of Forgiveness, in 2018. I think a lot of people sort of forgot about this, not because it was a bad album, but because it had been 13 years between albums. this is really where his renaissance kicked off. So if you want to know about John Prine's latter years, there's not much studio material available, but this is, normally I shy away from colored vinyl, but this is on indie store green vinyl, and it's just a really good album. Is it Prine's best? I don't think so. Some of you might, but this is such an enjoyable, lovely album. It's so completely worth having. Order it from your local record store, like I did. If you can't get to one, go to Oh Boy Records. They've still got it. And then the one I was most excited about this year, everybody here knows about my love of Warren Zevon. And in February of this year, Run Out Groove Records re-released the massive, mammoth, incredible, balls-to-the-wall live album, Stand in the Fire. So recorded live at the Roxy Theater in L.A., sides 1 and 2 are, I think these are taken from the 07 or 08 remaster, and then mastered again for vinyl. Stand in the Fire, Genie Needs a Shooter, Excitable Boy, Muhammad's Radio, Werewolves of London, Lawyers, Guns, and Money, The Sin, Poor, Poor, Pitiful Me, I'll Sleep When I'm Dead, and Bo Diddley's a Gunslinger / Bo Diddley. A couple of the bonus tracks were on that CD, but many of these were not. And that's really what I bought it for. For the first time ever, we get a classic Zevon era version of Roland the Headless Thompson Gunner. It had come out on a live album in the early 90s, but it was just Warren, a keyboard, and some sound effects, so it really kind of lost something. This is Warren at the height of his powers, 1980. It's just such a great sounding album. They did not put brand new notes in here. That kind of ticked me off. But this was taken from a tour they called the Dog. The Dog Ate the Part We Didn't Like tour. But again, worth checking out. CD's a little hard to come by. If you can get this album, again, go for it. It's fantastic. So, 3 very different artists, but all well worth picking up the reissues. So we'll sort of leave that one be. On to the archival releases. I'm just going to sort of throw, it's 5.5, because, and I will preface by saying a lot of these were Record Store Day releases, and I was very fortunate to be able to nab them, and I know not everybody did. If you can find them at a reasonable price, I really recommend it. I don't recommend paying the pirate prices. The people who go to Record Store Day just to grab stuff, and it's on eBay half an hour later for 3 times the price. I won't curse, but that's what I have to say to you, the people who buy it just to sell it and make money off those of us who are true fans. This is your IQ, and this is what I think of you. So anyway, that said, limited, Record Store Days are obviously very limited release. Keith Richards and the Expensive Winos. Again, excuse me, you know me, I like to leave the plastic on. It's hard to see. Keith looks evil, which is great. This was recorded December 92 in London with his band The Winos, which featured the great Waddy Wachtel on guitar. Why am I blanking on which Neville brother? And then Steve Jordan, who took Charlie Watts' place in the Stones after Charlie passed this year. Just the Winos were a phenomenal band. They were a powerhouse, and so they do the song "Wicked as It Seems," which is a Keith solo one, but then they do "Give Me Shelter" on here. That's why I paid the $14 that I did for this. Yes, record store day prices are a bit much, but it was well worth it to me. Again, I talk about not being too into colored vinyl. I didn't have a choice. It's sort of it's evilish red vinyl. I love the original Gimme Shelter, and some of the early live versions of it were really good. But now Mick, to me, lacks... He's still a fantastic showman. His voice doesn't carry the gravity that a song like Gimme Shelter deserves. And Keith's raspy voice, combined with his background singers and his band on this, make this, and don't hate me for this, the definitive live version of that song, Gimme Shelter. And that's my favorite Stones song off my favorite Stones album, which is Let It Bleed. So, really cool if you can find that. Most recent Record Store Day Black Friday. This was, it is available for streaming, and I think you can still get this at a lot of record stores. I don't think this one sold out. It's also on red vinyl. Anybody who knows me knows my love of the classic hard rock and heavy metal, and a band that's as far away from the folk and singer-songwriter as you can get. My band here and here, for many, many years has been Motorhead, and I love the mid-90s Motorhead era of music the most. It's what I first heard, as a teenager. So this is an official release by the surviving members of Motorhead who played on this. Phil Campbell on guitar and Mickey D on drums. Of course, Lemmy passed away December 2015. This was recorded June 1st, 1995 in Madrid, Spain, in a club. And this is loud, ear-shatteringly loud. It's everything the band was. There were no subtleties with Motorhead live. I saw them a couple of times. They played at about 120 decibels, so picture a jet engine going off in a 1,000-seat club. But they had stuff from the so-called glory days. They had a lot of new songs on here, and a bunch of points in between. It is the only official Motorhead live recording of the song Silver Machine, originally done by Hawkwind, sung by Lemmy when he was in the band. Starts with Ace of Spades, ends with Overkill, got 20-some-odd songs in between, and the band was just firing on all cylinders in this. And, it comes from a soundboard tape. But what's neat then is, like I said, this was never released. It's got, a lot of information, a lot of cool pictures in it. So this is a true archival release. Nothing from this era has ever been officially put out by the band before, which is a shame. If you've heard, I'm pointing up there toward my box sets, if you've heard any of the soundboard remasters they did on the 1979 or Ace of Spades box sets, this is comparable to that. So nothing fancy, but well worth having if you're a Motorhead fan. We go... Oh, I guess it was only 4.5. Anyway, I got into the blues with two guys, John Lee Hooker, and then, predictably, but thankfully, Muddy Waters. So I have the plastic case over this one. Muddy Waters, the Montreux years. He played the Montreux Jazz Festival 3 times throughout the 70s. This is... it's not quite as good. To me, it's not quite as good or as essential as the original Muddy Mississippi Waters live. That said, he played 1972, 1974, 1977. And on here throughout this are Bill Wyman of the Stones on bass, Buddy Guy on guitar, Junior Wells on harmonica, and then, of course, in the later 70s, Bob Margolin, Pine Top Perkins, Willie Big Eyes Smith, Calvin Fuzz Jones, Luther Guitar Jr. Johnson. So just, nobody knows Chicago like I do. Manish Boy, Long Distance Call, Rollin' and Tumblin', County Jail, Got My Mojo Working, I'm Your Hoochie Coochie Man and I'm Ready, Still a Fool, Trouble No More, Rosalie, Rock Me Baby, Same Thing, Howlin' Wolf, Can't Get No Grindin', and Electric Man. So some hits, some deeper tracks, a lot of the very deep blues that Mud was known to do better than just about anybody. This is a 2-record set, like I said, just came out this year. Never been released before. The sound on this is stellar. You can imagine from the Montreux Jazz Fest, they always did a great job recording their artists. I'm thrilled that this you can see the light. You're seeing the light of day. Muddy was such a prolific performer, even when he wasn't recording a whole lot or the albums weren't that good because he was getting bad direction from his record company. Muddy live was always the pinnacle of what the Chicago blues should sound like. He was the king. He was the best. And so if you're a blues fan, this was not a record store day release. It's widely available. I picked it up at my local record store. I know that John at Off the Record, a couple of blocks from my house, just got another copy in. Do yourself a favor if you're a fan of the blues. Even if you're a fan of classic rock and you're not too familiar with the blues, this would not be a bad starting point. Pick this up. I think you'll really like it. I think you might even be surprised how much you like it. So that's that. This one was a record store day release. And I've talked about this with some friends on social media already. I think, oddly, this one did not sell out immediately at record stores, which both depresses me and makes me happy to say that some of you may still be able to get this at a fairly reasonable price. Recorded at the Other End, which used to be the Bitter End in New York, in December of 1975. John Prine. I get the feeling, and maybe somebody out there knows, but I feel like it's lost to the sands of time. He had just put out his fourth and final Atlantic Records album, Common Sense, and I know that he wasn't too thrilled with a little bit of the production of it, and there are some songs from there on here done stripped down. It's almost all him on guitar, but Steve Goodman does join him for a couple of songs, with 9 Pound Hammer and Souvenirs. To go through the entire first set and second set list, there were 12,500 copies pressed. I have copy number 8,134. If you can kind of maybe sort of see that up this way. I feel like this would have been an official live album, but maybe got shelved. Maybe Prine didn't okay it. Maybe the record company forgot. I don't know, but the recording here was excellent. The only downside is I don't remember. It's on the second record on either side, 3 or 4. Sorry, there are 4 records. Either side 5 or 6 on record number 3. There's a very obviously drunk woman sort of harassing him, and he plays along with it. And I wish he'd just shut her up because she sort of detracts a little bit even during the songs. But again, that said, this is if you can find this at a reasonable rate, and maybe even if you can't and you're a John Prine fan, this is such a great historical document. He was in fine voice. He was joking with the crowd. He had a lot of good stories. All the classics are here, plus most of the deepened album tracks. So if you're a John Prine fan, this is as close to essential as you can get. And this will not surprise any of you. I've already discussed this in another video just about to death. I've discussed it so darn many times on social media that you're probably sick of hearing this. So I would ask that you go back a video or two of mine on my page and look at my Neil Young This or That. Best archival release of the year, Neil Young and Crazy Horse way down in the rust bucket, recorded in Santa Cruz, November 1990. Yeah, this is just, 4 records, 8 sides, 2.5 hours of music. Neil and the band warming up for their Ragged Glory tour. Again, I'm not going to say a whole lot because I've spoken about it several times. So this is definitely, and again, not a record store day release. You have no reason to not go out and buy this masterpiece of a box set. The sound is phenomenal. The set list is great. Has 8 out of 10 Ragged Glory tracks on it. Yeah, so, and if you already have Weld, which I discussed in the This or That, don't let that hinder you from getting this. So, anyway, there we go. Video turned out a little longer than I thought, mainly because I prattled on about my health at the beginning again. Kind of recovering, but, and I'm not preaching, I'm not getting political, but things here in Michigan are a little worrisome again with the COVID variants spreading, even to those who are vaxxed. If you're vaxxed, you're statistically less likely to have bad symptoms and or pass it on. But please be safe, wash your hands, follow all the protocols you can. Again, I don't want any hate mail from this. I'm not trying to start a fight. I'm saying this has worked for me. If I had it, we'll never know, unfortunately, but please be safe and take care of each other out there. And, it's time of year when a lot of germs spread anyway. We have every reason, you and I as music lovers, to hide away a little bit during these months. I'm not a winter sports guy, so we have every bit of reason to hide away and delve into the great albums that have come out this year, the great albums we've all bought this year. I'm going to talk more about that, about my purchases this year. Yeah, just take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. Be safe. If you're watching this, you already know I'm a huge proponent. Buy physical media. Support your local brick and mortar. If for some reason there isn't one within reasonable driving distance around you, get on Discogs, get on eBay, find one and order from the little guys, please. So anyway, thank you for your kind attention. I really appreciate it. There are a couple more videos coming up this month regarding my favorite albums of the year, as well as touching base on the different genres I collected and a couple other things. So take care, everybody.